Hi everyone, this is Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk. I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. And on today's episode, we have Jenna Herbut. She is the mastermind and creator behind Make It, which is the Handmade revolution. It's Canada's largest indie craft, art, and fashion event, and I heard it's quite amazing. And she is also the founder of Make It University. So can't wait to jump in and learn more about her and her story. So welcome, Jenna.
Thank you so much for having me, Sheila. Very excited to be here chatting with you.
Thanks for joining me. I know you're in Canada. I'm in Texas, two totally separate parts of the world. And I love, this is another reason why I love technology. It brings us together, and I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, well, Canadians and Texans, both friendly people, right?
Absolutely. I'm a Southern girl all the way through, as you can tell by this accent. Hey, listen, the very first question I usually ask is, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how that helped you get to where you are today.
Sure. Well, my creative journey started about 10 years ago when I was still in university. I was a business student, and for one of my projects, I had to come up with a business plan. And I still remember to this day, I was on a walk and I just had this lightning bolt idea of starting this belt company called Booty Belts. And back 10 years ago, my 21-year-old self thought like Booty Belts was the most genius name ever. And I just thought like, this is it. So I knew nothing about fashion. I'd always been interested in clothing, obviously, but, you know, never really had much of an experience in the fashion world. But I penned this business plan and I was just so passionate about it. I thought, damn, I'm going to start this. Like, I'm not going to wait until, you know, I've had the corporate experience, because I knew throughout university and before that, you know, the 9-to-5 just wasn't my thing. So I started Booty Belts actually while still a student, and upon graduating, you know, went for it full tilt. And so basically a booty belt, you're probably wondering, what the heck is that? Some people get strange ideas, so I should explain.
Yeah, there you go. Good idea.
I used to wear scarves as belts. So basically I just got vintage scarves, put buckles on them, and added some embellishment. So I just started creating these things literally in my parents' basement, and you know, was really ambitious and just went for it. So I pounded the pavement and was able to get them in a few boutiques. I think some of these store owners probably felt sorry for me because I was so unorganized. I would just bring like a bag of my Booty Belts, and I didn't have order forms or anything. But I guess I just was so impassioned with the idea that they, you know, decided to take a chance on me. And so I had some immediate success, you could say, with getting my line in some stores. And then later on, I was living in a northern Canadian city called Edmonton. So I would take trips to Vancouver, the big city, and then Toronto and Montreal. So soon I was able to get my Booty Belts into about 30 stores across the country. And it got more difficult to get vintage scarves. It just wasn't a sustainable product source. So I would get fabric, and then I had all these home sewers, usually stay-at-home moms. I had an army of them, and they would help me make these Booty Belts from fabric, so that way I could have a catalog and a line sheet. So probably about 6 months in, or maybe a year in, I decided, if I'm going to make this idea big, I gotta go for the big show. So I signed up for the Magic Show, which is in Las Vegas twice a year, and it's the largest apparel show in the world. And I don't even know how many booths. I would say over 1,000. So it was pretty intimidating because, you know, I just started this business about a year ago, and I'm signing up for this huge show. But it was one of those experiences that really changed my life because, you know, first couple days, no orders, and I was devastated because the investment was I think $10,000. So back then that was well, it's still a lot of money for me, but you know, back then especially. So then on the last day, Japanese department store placed a big order for 60 of their stores, and then I had some other stores in the States place orders too. So I came out of it victorious and was able to, you know, make back my investment, and it really it gave me hope for what this business could be. So I spent a few more years just hustling, came out with a line of bags. And, you know, I was only about 24 at the time. So a few years in, it started to get pretty exhausting. And the booty belt trend wasn't what it was when I first started. So I sort of had a quarter life crisis.
I love that.
Quarter life crisis, 25. What the hell am I doing with my life?
That's right.
So on a whim, a friend of mine was selling at a street festival. And I sort of thought, well, you know, I'm selling my line in some higher end stores, a street festival, you know, maybe it's a little beneath me, and I don't know if it's good for my brand, but I kind of thought this could be fun, and this could be the change I need. So sold my booty belts direct to the public, and I love the experience because, you know, dealing with the end customer and really engaging with them was a lot more fun for me than dealing with store buyers on the phone all the time. So this really changed directions for my business because I started to do every street festival and music festival and craft show I could find. So for about 2 years, I was just a traveling nomadic gypsy living out of my suitcase.
Booty belt.
With my booty belts and my bags. And I really loved it. And around this time, Etsy came onto the market and, you know, changed everything. So I thought there's something with this new surgence of younger people getting into the craft world. And, you know, I sort of felt like I was selling at all these craft shows, but a lot of my friends weren't really that interested in going. So my marketing brain was like, maybe these craft shows need to be remarketed because they have a lot of cool designers, but people just are getting blocked by the craft show name. So that sort of led me to start organizing my own shows. And so I had a friend of mine who was a jewelry designer. So we had our very first show, had about 25 designers, mostly our friends, who decided to take a chance on us. And, you know, it was just a huge success. And then we grew it and grew it and grew it. And then a couple years in, my younger brother was like, these craft shows are cool, but you have all these dudes come in, because he would help work the front door because he could chat with the ladies and drink beer and stuff. So him and his friends, yeah, him and his friends would always help at the front door. And he thought to himself, like, there's nothing for guys. And he was certainly correct. So he started a t-shirt company about a month before our big holiday show and, you know, killed it because he was right. There was all these dudes, nothing for them. And so after he did the show as an exhibitor, he was like, I would love to get involved. So my business partner and I, we were having troubles because I had moved to Vancouver. She became a full-time teacher and it was getting difficult to work together. So my brother and I decided to join forces and call the show Make It. And yeah, that was about 4 years ago, and we've been going strong ever since. So we have 4 shows a year. We have spring shows in Edmonton and Vancouver, and then holiday shows in both cities as well.
I love that story. Part of which is because I've also worked trade shows. So I feel your pain. I know that you spend all that money you set up, and it's like you build it and no one comes. So
yeah.
They do, but they quickly walk past your space and continue on to the next one. And you think, what am I doing here? And then you got that great sale, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I also like that you said, you know, the term craft fair, and I don't want to offend anybody, but, you know,
yeah.
When I think craft fair, or I did, not now, but before it was, you thought of your aunt knitting or crocheting doilies or something, right?
Totally.
So, but it's such a cool fad thing right now, and it is very interesting to me, you being as young as you are, that you picked up on that really early. That says a lot for you, I think.
Thank you. Well, I guess I just wanted to show that I'd have fun at.
You don't want to be bored.
Yeah, I forgot to mention some key ingredients of Make It. We have a bar at the show. We have bands that perform. So that alone entices a lot of younger people and also a lot of guys, because I think probably back in the day, no men would ever dare enter a craft show because they'd just be bored out of their mind. But it's amazing, like even a lot of our vendors now are men. So that just shows that the whole growth of the scene has allowed a lot of guys to enter as well.
How have you marketed yourself to be different than the craft fair? How have you taken that? You've been able to still use that craft tag, right? But how do you brand it so it does seem more fun and youthful?
Well, like I said, the fact that we have a bar and music is
just show somebody with a drink.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think it's also the exhibitors we pick for our show because a lot of times we actually just finished our application process for our spring shows and we had close to double of what we could accept. So we had over 500 applications and about 275 spots. So it is really difficult. Like people always think like, oh, I hope I get in, but they don't realize like it's a really hard decision for us to make too. But what we've really done, which is I think different for how a lot of show producers approach things, like we really look at growing a community and we look at people's social media presence. We look at sort of just their vibe online. It's amazing what you can tell from a website because we sort of feel like we keep our booth prices fairly reasonable because we want everyone to support and everyone to bring out their friends and bring out their customers. So I think just really leveraging social media and the power of online marketing, which I don't think a lot of craft show producers are doing yet, at least not the more old school shows, I should say.
I see the same thing with wholesale furniture manufacturers, and it's the same thing. They do have websites, like with my first company, we had a website, like I was saying, but it's more like a brochure site. And I see some of them now trying to do social media, but you can tell they're don't really know what they're doing. That's uncomfortable, but it's that same thing. That's you thought outside the box, and I think that's what's the neatest thing about the whole deal.
Oh, thank you. And it's a lot of fun. Like we really promote the experience for the exhibitors and we want them to have a blast. And we say like the show's like a party. We want them to network and really engage in, you know, dealing with the customers, like to have a smile on your face all the time. And I think that really, like when you have that positive environment, it's amazing how people are just so attracted to it.
I agree. Well, let me ask you this. How did you go from making the booty belt and sporting the booty belt to saying, hey, I am going to create an event? Did you know anything about events other than just attending them? I mean, how did you know how to, I don't know if you can Google that, how to create an, I don't know. How'd you do it?
You probably can now, but when I started, Google was still fairly new. So I guess we just looked at my business partner that I started with. We just looked at shows we were participating in and what we would have loved to see differently and what we sort of craved. And yeah, it's one of those things like when I first started, like we really didn't know what we were doing, but you learn really quickly. And I think it's also just being very aware of treating your vendors as rock stars and really shining the light on them. And that kind of changes everythand
But you know, I think about, like, I just attended a show in January in Dallas, and it's such a huge production behind the scenes. I mean, there's, you know, you have and this, I know you're in Canada, so maybe a little bit different, but you have the event, you have all the planning for it, you have these big event companies that you have all these hoops you have to jump through. Did you guys kind of go with the same model, or because you were smaller, you were able to kind of do that yourself, or how does that work?
Yeah, we've done a lot ourselves and we still continue to. It's basically my younger brother and Chandler and I that do pretty much everything. Like we do have a company set up the pipe and drape and the tables and that sort of thing, but all the marketing and dealing with all the designers, it's all us. So now as the show's really grown, it's becoming more and more difficult. So we are looking at hiring people, but it's always hard because, you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you have so much control and it's hard to trust that someone else will be able to do as good a job as you can do. So we're working on it. We have a lot of interns, so
I love
baby
it.
steps.
Well, let's hop over and talk a little bit about Make It University. So what is that? Why did you create it? And what are you doing there?
Well, because my background is in business and my major was marketing, I've always been really, I guess, savvy at the marketing side of things. Like I didn't really realize that, but as I've been organizing craft shows, I sort of figured out that a lot of the amazing crafters and artisans that do our show, they have fabulous product, but getting the word out and selling and doing PR is something that can be quite difficult and quite intimidating to them. And I think it's also hard for them to learn those things too, because, you know, if you went on Google and typed in like how to market, you're going to just be overwhelmed with all the results. And I think the craft world, it's so niche and certain rules maybe don't apply like they would to a bigger company. So I would do little seminars and workshops, you know, just either from my home or rent like a little room and do these things. And as I was telling you before we were live, that I was part of Marie Forleo's mastermind program last year, and she was the one who was like, dude, you got to take this online. Like, this is big. Because I didn't really know much about online education. Like, I didn't really realize that you could teach a course online and you could get people all over the world accessing the information. So I put Make It University online about a year ago, and it's been really exciting because I have, you know, obviously my focus is the Make It designers, but I have had people from all over access the program. So it's really cool to be able to give something that can really help them in their businesses.
And how's that going? I mean, has it been pretty much a good success at this point?
Yeah. Well, I was really lucky because last year Etsy's been a sponsor of our show for probably just over a year now. And so they had a pilot program they called the Etsy Educator Program. And so it was myself and 15 other women who were flown down to their headquarters in Brooklyn, and they trained us on how to teach Etsy. And because I have Make It University, I thought, well, you know, I don't necessarily want to be doing seminars every week. So I put my course online. And so that's been a really popular one because I think Etsy, as it's grown, like they have something, they're close to 1 million sellers now. So people are often just completely overwhelmed of how to get started on Etsy. So that's been a really great seller for me. And next week, I'm launching Spring Cha-Ching, which is a course all about how to really up your spring game, because so often crafters are so laser focused on the holiday season, and they kind of think is the spring is their slack off time and their time just to, you know, travel, which I could totally relate to because I love doing that too. But I think there's so much potential in the spring that's really not being leveraged. So hopefully Spring Cha-Ching can help them out with that.
Let me ask you this. So I know you're doing a couple of different shows, and you have twice as many people that apply for the show than you have spots for. So has that made you think, okay, do we need more shows? Or, you know, like sometimes you think, okay, like if I build it, they'll come, but maybe not. I don't know. What's your thought on that?
Well, it's something that's been really amazing and so flattering because we literally do no marketing for getting exhibitors. Like, it's all word of mouth. We do tons of marketing when it comes to getting customers in the door, but it's really exciting because, you know, I'm sure as you can relate to, like when a trade show or any sort of show is hot, like people hear about it, you know, it spreads like fire. So we've been really fortunate. And I think it's the whole mentality. I figured this out quite some years ago. If you create a product where, you know, or a service where your customers kind of need you more than you need them, like not in a negative way, but it's almost like dating. Like, you know, if you have more demand than you have supply for, you create a really favorable dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun.
Well, then, now, is this only for Canadian exhibitors?
Well, you know, it's a funny thing because we have had Americans come up, but because of the border, it's really too bad, and it's something that I hope changes in the years to come because there's so many fabulous Americans that email us all the time, like, can we come up to your show? And we'd love to say yes, but then crossing the border and the tax implications, all of that. So
you're talking
we'd love to have you guys,
both attendees and exhibitors. Both are usually Canadian.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because it's the business side of me. What about Make It Goes USA? Why don't you guys think, I mean, there have to be just as many creative, fun people here wanting a fun band-like drinking, fun indie type show.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, one of our inspirations was the Renegade show when we were starting out. Have you heard of Renegade?
I have not.
It's a show, I think, it's probably similar the way it's marketed. I've been to the one in Brooklyn, but they're in Brooklyn, I think LA, San Francisco, Austin, Chicago, and it's another fabulous show. And so I think that's probably a similar vibe to Make It. But yeah, we'd be there in a heartbeat, trust me. I love America, and you know, it's just one of those things with governments and borders, and
it goes back to exactly what you said. When you have a good thing and your supply, you've got the supply demand need there, then go with it.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Well, what has been the most challenging thing for you as a business owner? I know you've made a lot of changes over the last few years. You went through the mastermind thing, you started Make It University. What do you
Yeah.
find as a businesswoman that's the most challenging for you? And maybe a bit of advice you might be able to give someone that's thinking about starting a business.
That's a great question. I would say when you're a solopreneur and you're working at home in your PJs, and it can be very discouraging sometimes because, you have the online world, which is great. But I would say something that I've been a lot more proactive in doing the last few years is really seeking out like-minded women who, and some men too, but mostly women, who are there to support me and I can support them and we can grow together, because going at it alone and not really having that support group, it's a very lonely world. And sure, you have your friends in the corporate world and other people in your family, but no one knows it the same as someone else experience it. So I would say anyone starting out, make sure you tap in to the community. And maybe it is online, but doing it in a more meaningful way, like having Skype chats, just arranging times where you can connect, because otherwise you'll have lots of crazy days where you feel like, what am I doing? All this time into something and, I'm not getting the results I want. And I think it's so easy to be really hard on ourselves too when we're working alone, and it takes someone else from the outside to say, look, you're doing amazing, like you're working really hard, like your expectations are maybe a little out of whack.
Exactly. It's easy, and it's sometimes hard to see it when you're in the middle of it, and getting a different set of eyes is amazing. Well, let me ask you this. I'm a bit of a kind of a systems operations nut, but what about, I know probably to have it do it, we talked about events and how big they can be and how busy they can be, but with that and Make It University, what type of systems do you have in place? Like, how do you keep up with all that? Are you a digital person or a paper person? How do you do it all?
That's a really great question right now, because we're figuring out like our system for applying to make it. It's just not working, because we had it this year that people have to submit a paper application or email it to us, but we figured out that that's just not sustainable anymore, because when we're getting like 500 plus pieces of paper, keeping track of it all is just way too difficult. So we are looking for a more online based application process. And also I was going to mention Square, the little white doodads that go on your cell phone. They just recently came to Canada about 6 months ago. So they were one of our sponsors at our show. And like Square is just revolutionary, and PayPal, like you can just accept credit cards through PayPal. No one has to send you anything. You can just type the credit card number in. So all these new technological platforms are allowing us to do things. Because before we thought, I don't know if it's like this in the States, but to get like a physical terminal costs you like 150 bucks a month. We thought, well, we don't want to take credit cards. But now that companies are providing platforms where it's easy to take credit card and accept payment online, we need to totally rejig how we're accepting applications.
It is amazing. I mean, technology, we're very lucky in the age that we live in now. I know, like, I use authorized.net, and I don't have to have a terminal or anything. I just have an internet connection. I can go in on the back end, run the credit card, and everything's done. I mean, it's so easy. Or when I take my kiddo to therapy, they have the little Square thing. We just swipe it, and we're done. And that makes it easy for you, and it makes it easy for vendors at events as well. I mean, it's so easy with the technology that we have today.
It really is. And even Etsy, like there's no excuse not to be online. You can literally set up a store in 10 minutes. So anyone who applies for our show and doesn't have a website, we almost always put them in the no pile. And maybe sometimes people disagree with that because they think, oh, well, you should base it on the product. But now, like so many of our customers want to shop from the vendors before and after the show. And we just feel like the web presence is so important. And I think like there's absolutely no excuse. Like it's just laziness if you're not getting yourself online. And not only is it lazy, but I think it's stupid because there's so much potential out there. And, even if you're not going to devote hours to Etsy every week, I get it. Like that's a lot of time, but just to have something out there.
I agree. It's like the same thing with the social presence. I don't think you should do all platforms. It depends upon your business. Pick which one is best for your business and get really good at that. But you can't just ignore it because you're new, because it's something new to you or you're scared and that's just not the way we do business. So I agree.
Yeah, and to add to your point, I think it's what's good for your business and also what comes naturally to you because there is so much pressure now because there's so many different platforms. And, personally, I think Pinterest is cool and fun, but I don't really see the tie into my business. Therefore, I'm not going to spend hours of my time
Right.
reposting photos. But like Twitter is great for my business. So that's something, and it's something I enjoy doing. So I think it's also what naturally comes to you and what you enjoy doing. Because if you hate writing and you're committing to a blog, like that's just not sustainable. You'll probably last.
I love that you said that because I just had a conversation with a client yesterday and she's like, but I can't write. And I said, you know what? I'm not the best writer either, but I do a web video show and I post it weekly and I'm very consistent because I like to talk. Doesn't mean I can't write, but I do what's comfortable for me. And it works with my personality and it works with my community. I think you just have to find what works and not be afraid to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you're doing something you enjoy doing, it takes the pressure off.
Yeah, that is a great point. Well, listen, if someone wanted to hook up with you, where would you want to send them?
I would say makeituniversity.com.
Okay.
I have weekly tips that I give out from my newsletter, and I'm always doing videos. And so that's a great place to start. Also, for any Canadians out there, makeitshow.ca or makeitproductions.com will lead you to our craft show. But definitely if you're aspiring to do what you love, and I think anyone can do this. I feel like if you have that passion and you have that creativity and you just want to try it out, just go for it. Like putting things off and waiting till the right time, it'll just never happen. And a lot of times I think it's easier and simpler than people imagine. They just put all these blocks in front of them and they think, oh, it's too hard and, it won't make any money. You never know because if I can make money off booty belts, there's hope for everyone.
I agree. And I'm so glad that you said that because I think a lot of people have skill sets that maybe they don't recognize. They take them for granted. Yeah. And just because they have them, it doesn't mean that we all do, right? So I think, seeing people like yourself, which is why I'm so pleased that you decided to be on the show. It's seeing that you didn't know how to make a booty belt. You didn't know what that was. You didn't even have a website or line sheets or you didn't have a clue what you were doing, but you did it. And that led you to where you are today. So you can do it if you try, but you have to try.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing all the people that just show up to help you too. Because when you're first starting out, people want to see you succeed. Because, it's like a fun little club, us entrepreneurs. And we want more people to come out. Like whenever one of my friends who hates their job is thinking about an idea, I'm like, you should go for it. And I'll support them any way I can. And I feel like that's how things work. So people are willing to work with you, not against you. So yeah, exactly. You just gotta try.
Try it and don't be afraid to ask because like you said, people are willing to help. And I guess, a lot of people are like, oh, that's my competition. Well, they're really probably not. You're a little bit different. And what I have found, not only with women, but especially with women, is that they really do want to help each other and see each other be successful. Yeah,
I feel like competition, it's one of those things that is really starting to change. Like I remember when I was in business school, it was all about your SWOT analysis and figuring out competition. But I feel like the internet is an equalizer and it's such a huge platform that there's room for everyone and, your voice and your product or your service, there's going to be a niche for everyone. So you don't have to worry so much that someone's going to steal your precious idea because chances are someone already has, or maybe you've taken an idea and you didn't even realize it because I feel like it's more your voice and your personality that people are really buying as opposed to your product or your service.
I agree. And I think that is a terrific note to end on. Jenna, this has been an awesome interview. I appreciate you chatting with us. I will link everything up in the show notes and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much, Sheila. It was such a pleasure to chat with you, too.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Successful Women Talk. Listen, a lot of people ask me, Sheila, how did you build a business from 0 customers in revenue to thousands of customers and multi-7 figures within a few short years? Here's the secret sauce. We had great products, excellent customer service, and we leveraged, this is key, we leveraged our systems and processes. If you want to learn more about this or how to reclaim your time, join me over at www.successfulwomentalk.com and I'll show you how to get the life, business, and customers you want. Thanks so much.